Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to my channel and thank you for joining in today. If you're watching me for the first time, please subscribe. And for my existing subscribers, thank you so much for staying. So today I want to talk about parentification, which is basically when a child takes on the role of a parent. Um, this is this is inappropriate, and I do understand there are circumstances where a child may have to step in, to act as a parent. Maybe, for example, the sudden demise of a parent and the other parent is unavailable, or a parent is maybe terminally ill and there's no one else to support, and maybe the eldest of the children, steps up into that parenting role. So there are different, situation where a child could act as a parent. So, but I'm focusing on when both parents are available or one parent is available, but due to negligence or I would say selfishness, um, the responsibility or the weight of the family is put on a child. Now, this typically happens in a setting where maybe that child has an advantage. Now, why I'm coming up with this today is there's a trend in news. I'm not going to mention the parties involved. I don't do trending news, like talk about them. But it's just a lesson from that story I want to draw. So this is a situation of a girl. I think she's now 24, but then she got married to this 60 something year old man when she was 17. And that was actually accepted in that time at the country where she lives. So I remember when she got married, everyone was, of course, they had a go at the mom, saying the mom was actually responsible for that marriage, pushing her to go marry the guy because the guy is a billionaire. And they wanted to use her to, secure the money bag, basically. And everyone kind of knew that she was going to regret it at some point, and which happened. So, some 7 years down the line, she suddenly crying out that she's been violated in the marriage physically, and all that stuff. And the guy came out to say that um, he's been tough on her because she's doing drugs. But the question is, well, if she's doing drugs now under your care, you being the husband, and not just a husband, a father as well, because you married her when she was 17, you were 60 something. So if she's doing drugs under your care, then you have questions to answer. What could have driven her to that point, you see? But the lady came out, the girl came out to release a video, I think today or yesterday. And I watched the video and she was saying, oh, people accusing her that she married a guy because of money. She didn't. That she's an asset to her family. Even before she got married to the guy, um, through her mom had raised other siblings. That didn't sit well with me. And I'll give you a bit of background to her story in addition to what I've said. So she then was a rising star. In the movie industry. She started acting at a very young age, very pretty girl. So if she's saying that at 17, she was she's an asset, and her mom had used her to raise her other siblings. Basically, what they're saying then is that all the money she was making from the movie was what her mom used to raise her other siblings. Now, again, I'm not judging anyone or criticizing anyone. Everyone has their family dynamics and what works for them, and especially where there isn't uh, uh, um, a fair economic advantage for everyone in some certain countries. People tend to leverage on maybe a child with an advantage, but the problem is I feel like this girl being accused of doing drugs now, the pressure to become an adult too soon while still a child is probably what led her to, having mental health issues, maybe depressed. She was probably too pressured and then she had to resort to drug. Now, the marriage to this old man could have been like, you know, the thing that actually made it very obvious that she's on drugs. But I feel like the issue had been there when she was unmarried. Because if you're saying your parents used you to train your 3 or 4 other siblings, then that means that you've had pressure then to be an adult. You saw yourself as the messiah of the family. You saw yourself as, the she was obviously used as a sacrificial lamb, as like an unfair sense of responsibility was put on her. And there's a way that, sometimes parents would psychologically, program the mind of a child that the child wouldn't even know that that's abuse. When you tell a child, oh, the reason you're being blessed, you're gifted, you have all of this is so that you can help and bring out the entire family from poverty or wherever. While that might be true, I believe that is true to an extent. That there's a way that God will give an advantage to one person and that helps every other person to rise. I believe that. But that does not mean that that child should stop becoming a child and the mother or the father should stop becoming, mothers and fathers. Everyone still needs to step up in their responsibility. What you could do is to use the maybe economic benefit of that child that she's gotten or he's gotten from their giftedness that can be leveraged on to help everybody else, but not at the expense of that child. So still let the child be a child, still provide emotional support to the child, still help the child to manage their finances, invest it, put it in a trust for when they are older so that they are okay. Yes, some of it can be used to raise the other siblings to support them. But that child's mental health, sense of responsibility, confidence must not be compromised. They should not be psychologically messed up to think that, without them, the whole family will collapse. That puts undue pressure on them. And that's why you see some of these children go do drugs, they do gambling. Because they're under pressure. They want to have that fund to continue to perform that role that you've put them on. Some go to do all sort of dubious things. Fraud. I've seen a lot of situations like that, and they justify the reason for doing this. They justify it as, oh, they need to be able to support their family, you know. So wisdom needs to be applied because looking at that story critically, I'm just thinking, no, the pressure that led to this girl using drugs did not start from our so-called husband, the older man she married. It actually started from our family. And that marriage obviously again was a setup, our mom using it because she feels, well, if you marry a billionaire, then that means we're done. Right. So parents should not, abdicate their responsibilities to kids. The only time parentification can make a bit of sense is if parents are dead and there's no one to step in, there's no older family member that can step in. So maybe the eldest, we can't step in. And even when the eldest step in, it should be teamwork with every other sibling. It should be complete teamwork, not, abandoning everything to one person. If it's tilted and it's an imbalanced scale, it's gonna affect that child mentally at some point. Some are lucky. They end up maybe having a partner that is very matured or has an advantage that can support them then together help without the responsibility of the younger ones of the spouse. But even at that child will still need to go through some therapy and some healing. And that's why you see some of them, apart from all the vices I said, maybe going into drugs or going into, defrauding others, all kind of means just to get money to keep this will going. Some of them eventually, especially when they know they've sacrificed too much at the expense of their own, sanity, they end up despising, those that they've made those sacrifice for. And you can't blame those ones because it wasn't meant to be so. So they wouldn't really appreciate it. The love of a parent to a child is selfless. So even if you abandon your life, at the end of the day, you probably not feel bitterness towards your child. When you see your child doing well, it gives you joy because yeah, I sacrificed for this. But when a sibling sacrifice their progress, their joy for another, and they go on to see that sibling do well and they lacking in a way, it causes resentment. And that's why you see some of these people, they have siblings, especially the ones that do this sacrifice. They can be very, very possessive because they feel that their life is being taken off them, basically, at the expense of the other sibling. So, and I always say this: parenting it's a tough decision. It's not something that someone should do just because they haven't given it much thought. You're bringing another child, and if you do it well, your legacy will bless you. And if you don't, you're going to create problems even when you've left this world. So, yeah, I just hope I've been able to put my points across. And for those that have gone through parentification and you've been hurt, I just pray that God heals you. I mean, you find strength and healing to go on. And for those that, it ended up well for them, everyone is happy, siblings doing well, family moving forward, well done to you as well. There has to be a balance. I am not in support of irresponsibility as well. There are some kids also that sit back and let their parents do everything, even when the parents break their back. You should also be able to step up when you are a bit matured to help, help the family. So there has to be a balance because there's also a group of children that are not responsible, absolutely not responsible, not willing to pull their weight, not willing to make sacrifices for them, for their siblings or for their parents. That's not good. But there has to be a balance just so everyone can be whole and happy eventually. All right. Anyway, I wish you all the best in all you do. Take care. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't.